right, we're live. Thank you for joining us. I'm James Leichter, your host. This is Field Service Live. We come to you every Thursday night at 7 o'clock, about a half-hour show. We're here for the field service industry. Basically, if you drive a vehicle and you do work on homes, commercial buildings, then you are in the field service business, and that's what we are all about. Let me fix my monitor here. Field service industry, basically, if you drive a vehicle and you do work on home. Well, I got to fix that monitor. Thank you. Hey, Colin, that's not your fault, is it? Finally, it's my fault.
Not today.
It was me that messed something up.
But the show's not over yet.
Yeah, all right. We'll give you another chance. Maybe people have noticed that I started drinking early tonight. Colin, you think?
Well, if they're observant, they noticed.
Well, I better explain that. This is not actually from me drinking tonight. It is from me having a sip of it earlier and pouring Colin a glass. Colin and I want to toast the Ukrainian military and the people of Ukraine who on this day, this evening, April 1st, 2022, are literally fighting for their lives. This is Ukrainian vodka. And I thought we would, Colin and I would pour a little vodka and have a toast. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think?
Man, I'm going to be honest with you. That is really good. I did not expect that to be that good.
Yeah, that is.
And we're having it straight.
Yeah,
so
we're having it straight. It's not cold.
That might be the best vodka I've ever had. I'm going to go with, and I'm going to go strong just because I'm just so impressed right now with a 9.1.
9.1. Yeah.
Out of 10.
I'm going to do a 9.3.
That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be potato vodka. That is excellent.
I think it is. I think it is potato vodka. If my son was watching the show, he should type in what we were just drinking because he's the expert.
Yeah, that is super good.
I don't think it's rice. It doesn't taste like rice.
I mean, have you ever had vodka that's straight and it tastes that good?
No, it's pretty darn good. Yeah. So what we did is my son and I have a pretty nice bar at our home, and we decided we would get rid of all of our Russian vodka and we would stock up on Ukrainian vodka while it was still available because we're not sure how long it'll be available. And we've gotten several different kinds, and this is maybe the best one that we have.
Well, you got to tell everybody the name now.
Oh, yeah, I got to. Right. I'm going to spell it KHOR Deluxe. Core, maybe. But, yeah, that's good. Ukrainian vodka.
Well, it said on there like super premium vodka, right, on the bottle? I thought it was a pretty bold claim before the show started. Yeah, super.
Super premium. Not just premium, but super premium.
And I'm going to have to say they delivered on that. Now, of course, I don't know what the after effects are, but the flavor of that vodka was excellent.
Yeah, that is good. And, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a watch person, I'm a watch person. That's a hobby of mine, is watchmaking. I am wearing a Ukrainian-made watch. Now, this watch was actually made long before Ukraine left the USSR, which I think was in 1991. This was made in Ukraine when it was part of the USSR, about in the 1960s. So it's about a 65-year-old watch, and I bought it long ago and restored it, but I thought it would be a good night to wear it while we toasted the Ukrainians with our Ukrainian vodka. So hang in there, everybody in Ukraine. All right. Well, before I should remind everyone what we're doing tonight before I forget after some vodka. We are going to talk about how to select bookkeeping and accounting software. And I think the first thing that I want to talk about is bookkeeping versus accounting. We think of software programs as accounting software. We might say, well, we own QuickBooks accounting software or SAP or Mass accounting software. And that's okay, but really accounting is a small part of it. Really what you're investing in most likely is bookkeeping software. So let's talk about bookkeeping versus accounting. Bookkeeping, really loosely defined for our purposes, bookkeeping is all the paperwork. It's handling all the documents, papers, forms, and things like that in a business. You have invoices and statements and purchase orders. You write checks. You have bills that you file. All that paperwork is typically done by clerks, office people, bookkeepers. Bookkeepers typically oversee that operation. All of those things are tabulated into books. So we typically, as a bookkeeper, we would collect invoices, bills, checks, things like that, and they would take a pencil and they would write those into ledger books, and that's where the term keeping the books came from. So really, it's all bookkeeping. What is accounting? Well, once the ledger books were created, and there was a sales book, there was an accounts receivable book, a payables book, etc. Once all those books were carefully filled out, the accountants would take those books and enter those into a general ledger. One big book. And that book had the credits and the debits and the account numbers and all that information necessary to create financial reports. That's accounting. So really, accounting is taking the set of books, transferring it to a general journal, general ledger, totaling all that up and filling out income statements, balance sheets, and financial reports similar to that. When it comes to software, really what you're investing in is you're investing in software that does lots of bookkeeping. The accounting is when you want to see an income statement or a balance sheet and you hit a button, because the journals, the books are all done behind the scenes. The accounting part is just adding those up and making a financial report like an income statement, but that happens in the course of just seconds. Now, for the sake of disclosure, I want to say that I work during the day at a software company. So I run a software company that makes accounting software, and I'm not going to talk about that company at all, except to say, as full disclosure, I'm in this business. I'm also in the accounting business, being part of an accounting firm. So I have deep roots in accounting, and I'm very passionate about this topic. But I want to talk to you about what you need to know when you're going out and buying accounting software. What you're really getting is bookkeeping software that does accounting at a push of a button. All right, so what does this software actually do for you? Like QuickBooks, what does it do for you, and what does it not do for you? Well, really, when it comes down to a complete package, software package that does the bookkeeping and the accounting, what it's really doing for you is preventing you from double entry. At least that's what software should do. Bookkeeping and accounting hasn't changed significantly in hundreds of years. When software came along, it really just computerized manual bookkeeping. It meant that once you entered a customer, you could use that information over and over again. You never had to double enter that information. Once you entered an invoice, then you could use that information over and over again. You never had to double enter it. That's really the big advantage of bookkeeping accounting software. There is no double entry. Another advantage is that you can get to the information very quickly rather than go to, say, a filing cabinet where you have all of your invoices, and another filing cabinet, you have all of your bills. And if you're a big company and you remember doing that, you had dozens and dozens of filing cabinets potentially. You might remember doctor's office, dentist office, where they had rows of filing cabinets. Well, what software allows you to do is eliminate the filing cabinets, just simply keep an electronic copy, and you can get to it very quickly. So what the software is doing is it's hopefully all but eliminating double entry, and it's making access to that information very quickly. But what it isn't doing is allowing you to skip important bookkeeping processes. It isn't allowing you to cheat the accounting gods. You know, there are accounting rules that have to be followed. Debits and credits and things have to balance, and there has to be double entry, etc. You cannot use software to cheat the accounting gods. Accounting rules have to be followed. If you don't follow those accounting rules, if your software allows you to not follow accounting rules, then you have lousy software made by lousy, immoral people. All right, so maybe they're not immoral and maybe they're not lousy people, but nobody should be in the business of creating accounting software that allows you to break accounting rules. Now, customers don't like it because oftentimes they want to break accounting rules to make life easy on themselves, but software shouldn't do that because you will suffer with reports that don't have accurate or complete information. Another thing you want to look for another thing you want to do before you look for software is, number one, make a list of all of the essential must-have capabilities that you need from software. You might want a dispatch board, a schedule board. You might want work orders. You might want dispatching capability. You might want customer equipment tracking. You might want service agreement management, good inventory management. And yes, I recommend all that. But for you want to decide for yourself, what is it that you need? You want to write those things down. Maybe write down what your current software doesn't have that you wish it had. Before you switch software, and maybe you're not switching, maybe you're trying to select software for the first time. But let me talk to those of you who might want to switch software. And by the way, I tell people this when they ask me about our software in my day job. I say, look, before you switch, think of it as a divorce. It's going to be costly, messy. There's going to be heartache. Don't divorce your software company unless you have to. Think about what you need your current software to do and call someone at that company and ask them, does your software do this? I just want to be sure. We need A, B, C, and D. Can your software do those things? And if they tell you, no, we don't do those things, then ask them, can you think of any reason why we wouldn't need those capabilities? Do you have some kind of acceptable alternative? And if they say no to that, then your question for them is, will you be able to add those things for us? Would you be willing to add those things to your current software so that we can have that capability? If they say no to that, that's when you should file for a software divorce. Otherwise, stick with the company that you have. It may be that they already do what you want the software to do, and you just don't know it. It's also possible that what you want it to do isn't necessary, or it's not a best practice. It's not a good idea. Accounting people wouldn't want you to do that. And, you may say, I don't care. I'm going to do things my way, and that's fine. If that works for you, go ahead. But it may be that they can tell you why you should never do things that way, and they would have some acceptable explanation. My point being is, don't switch software without doing some research. Don't take that lightly, because I know many contractors. And by the way, if you want to know more about my background, I'm known as Mr. HVAC by many. Go to mrhvac.com and you can learn more about me. I have been around a lot of contractors. I am around contractors for a living. I know a lot of contractors that have been divorced and remarried software-wise 4, 5, 6 times. And the reason why I insist on calling it a divorce is because it's a lot like a divorce. It's expensive, and it can be tough on everybody involved. And also, it happens sometimes because people don't put a lot of thought into what they're doing. And they switch software every time they see something out there that's sexier or better looking. They drop the software they have and they get a new program. So don't take that lightly. All right. So you've thought about your critical features. You've approached your software company. They're not interested. Well, then that's a good sign that maybe it's time to switch. You're looking for a new software program. It isn't just the program that you should be looking for, it's the software company. I would argue that your software vendor relationship is your most important vendor relationship. Let me explain. Let's say you're HVAC. It's really important who you buy your equipment from. It's really important who you buy your parts and materials from. Chances are, whoever you buy your equipment from, you have a very good relationship with them. If you're upset about something, you call them, the person probably comes over, talks to you about it, solves your problem. If they don't, they try, and you're happy with them. They probably, those territory managers, as we often call them, probably come by on a regular basis, drop off donuts, things like that. You have a good relationship with them. You know them, first name basis. You've heard about their kids, where they went to school, etc. You should have the same relationship with your software vendor. You should know them on a first name basis. You should be able to have honest communication, upfront communication with them. You should be able to tell it like it is to them. But just like your doctor, your lawyer, and your accountant, they should be able to tell you like it is. When you get them on the phone, if you have a person like me on the phone talking to you about the software, you should not consider yourself to be the customer and they're the company and you're always right. This should be a professional relationship, just like you have with a doctor, lawyer, or an accountant. If you have seen some of my other shows, you might remember me talking about my Aunt Gloria. She was a bit of a mentor and a hero of mine growing up. One thing that my Aunt Gloria told me that I never forgot, she said, James, there's 3 people you don't lie to. It's your doctor, your lawyer, and your accountant. You need to have 3 that you can really trust. So I recommend the same thing for you, but extend that to your software company. It's important to have a great relationship with your software company. Now, once you have a absolute firm idea what you are looking for in software, then it's time to go looking for a software company that can provide it. And remember, again, you're not just looking for software, you're looking for a vendor that you can be married to, you can live with, and have a great relationship with. You want to find a company that can give you references, not just any reference though. You want references that'll tell you that we have open, honest, two-way conversations with our software company. We have suggested features and they have added those features, or we have paid to have them add features. It's not enough for them to say, we know of people that had features added, or they told us they add features when people suggest them. You want to find companies that can tell you they did not have a certain thing. We told them about it and they added it. The reason why that's important is because you want that kind of tight relationship with your software vendor. You want to be able to call them and tell them, it is important that I can track callbacks. I need to track callbacks. I need to know the technician. I need to know the work order type. I need to know how much it cost me, et cetera, et cetera. If they can't say, yes, that's important information, I agree with you, and add it, that's the wrong software vendor, because there will be things that the software company doesn't know that your industry needs, and they need to be able to have you point it out and make changes to their software. So you want to find references that will substantiate that that is exactly what's going on. Now, while we're at it, you want to find a software company that understands your industry. It's best to buy, rather than generic software, it's best to buy software made by a company that specializes in your industry. Now, they can be a related industry. For example, you might be in the copier repair business, and you're having trouble finding software for the copier repair business. Well, I think a good choice would be a software company made for the plumbing or electrical or HVAC industry, because it's very similar. You're driving a vehicle out to some place and you're installing, maintaining, and or repairing equipment. That is close enough. So it'd be okay to deal with a company that thoroughly understands copier repair or plumbing when you're an electrician or you're in the HVAC industry. But don't buy software from a generic company that sells to a mortuary, a restaurant, or anyone else. And watch out for the pretenders. There are a lot of software companies ran by pretenders who pretend like they understand your industry, and they don't, but they pretend like it. And you'll know when you talk to them that they don't understand your industry. Another thing, when you're talking to a software company, if the only person you can get a hold of and talk to is just a salesperson, then that may not be the right company. You want to be able to talk to people that have the authority to make changes to the software. You want to be able to get somebody on the phone or on a video call and be able to say to them, do you have the authority to make changes to this software? Add features, change capabilities, change behavior, yes or no? And beware of a poser who says they do when they don't. Why is that important? Again, you are going to find problems with the software. You need to get past the peon who can't authorize changes in the software. You need to make sure that you can get a hold of people that can actually make changes to the program. Another tip I have for you when you're shopping for software, it's a little bit unrelated to the software, but this is something that's very important if you're going to be happy with your software. Understand that software is no replacement for dysfunctionality. If your company is currently dysfunctional, and I don't mean that in a mean way, I mean that there's things about your company operationally that's dysfunctional. If you're dysfunctional, software won't fix that. Software won't fix a company that is dysfunctional. It is important that you have the ability to run your company without any software program at all. You need to have policies and procedures in place that let everyone know who's supposed to do what, when, why, and how. You need to have a firm way of answering the phone, scheduling a service call, handling complaints. You need to have a firm set of instructions on how to order materials, receive materials, stock and replenish materials. If you don't have any of that, when you try to install the software, you're going to be looking to the software company for answers on everyday management problems. Colin, you had a comment?
Well, I think that some people that are out there that maybe are running their business don't realize that they're dysfunctional until all of a sudden you've got to adapt this. Do you think that that's a realistic thing too? That, hey, you may think you're running everything okay, and then all of a sudden now you have responsibility to plug all these numbers in.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess that's why you're here, huh? You made a good point for once. So Colin has a good point. A lot of times people don't know they're dysfunctional until they invest in software that can do a lot, and they expect a lot because they paid a lot. And that's when they start finding out that they don't have policies and procedures in place for ordering materials, for receiving materials, stocking, replenishing the trucks, etc. They don't know how to do work orders, track customer equipment, callbacks, things like that. And then they look to the software company for too many answers. So yes, that is when you find out you're not doing things correctly. Good point. So you have to know, your company has to know how to do everything manually, because remember, software only makes you more efficient at what you already do. It helps to eliminate double entry. It makes it easier to find information. It all but eliminates mathematical errors. But people expect too much from their software, and they expect the software to kind of come into their company and organize things. That takes me to another important point about selecting and implementing software. Understand the difference between support, training, and consulting. Technical support is for people that understand the basics of bookkeeping and accounting. Training is for people that want to know the basics of bookkeeping and accounting. Consulting is for people that understand the basics of bookkeeping and accounting, but need professional help with the design and operation of their company. They want help answering questions like, how much should we charge? What should our chart of accounts look like? How can we departmentalize our financial reports? How can we track callbacks? What's a good callback ratio? What is a good parts to labor ratio? What should our overhead be? Etc. That's consulting. There's support, training, and consulting. Too many companies call for support when they really need training, or they call for support when they really need training and consulting. People get training thinking it's consulting. The way to be happy with your software is to fully understand the fundamentals of bookkeeping and accounting. Not one person, But many people have to share that knowledge because every day you're going to look to the software to make things easier. And it's too much to ask the software company to help explain how to run your way of doing things through the software program. That is a common mistake I think that companies make is they call the software company and say, in essence, here's how we run our company. How do we do that with your software? What they should really be doing is how to use the software, figure it all out, and then apply that to their company. They're going to have to change the way they do certain things, and that's fine. And there's going to be other things that they absolutely have to do that maybe the software can't do, and that's because the company never thought about it that way. And that's when the two-way relationship, that great communication, that's when it comes in handy, when you need them to make changes to the program. All right, you're shopping for software. What are you looking for? In my opinion, you're looking for software that can do as much as possible without the need for third-party integrations. So in other words, be careful of some program that needs QuickBooks for this and MailChimp for that and all these other programs. I would look for a program that has full accounting and payroll and inventory management built in. That's the bottom line. I wouldn't consider anything that doesn't start with accounting, and I mean full accounting, full what accountants call double entry accounting. That doesn't mean you enter everything twice. That means there's a debit and credit for everything. All right, more than you care to know maybe. Full double entry accounting, full capable payroll with performance-based comp, spiffs, commissions, etc., and inventory control. Now, the payroll has to have lots of timesheet and time tracking features. Those three things are the foundation of all of your accounting reports, all of your business reports, all of your key performance indicators, all of your key measurables. That's the foundation: accounting, payroll, inventory management. If they have to interface with this for accounting, interface with that for payroll, interface with something else for inventory management, then that program will have bad reporting. Just look at the internet, find programs that have to interface with a bunch of stuff. And there's phony companies out there calling themselves all-in-one that require you to get something for the accounting, get something for the payroll. That's not all-in-one, folks. I mean, I don't know what all-in-one means to them, but to me it means everything is in one. Everything is in one. I recommend you start with a program that has excellent accounting, payroll, and inventory management. That is the foundation of everything else. Everything else is built on those three things.
Can you elaborate on the payroll? I don't know that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. So when I say payroll, what I'm really referring to is very good time tracking tools. You have an app where you can clock in, clock out on a job, clock out for lunch, clock in on another job, clock out for something else. You can have a day off and you're not in the system. And then when you come back to work, you clock in. If you're late, you clock in late. You leave early, you clock out early. It tracks everybody's time on every job. It tracks drive time if you want it to, and you should. So it tracks travel time, unbillable time. You're in a meeting, it's unbillable, it tracks that. It even has the ability to track the time of salaried people. So you have someone on a salary who throws a bunch of equipment in the back of their truck and they drive it out to the job. They should clock in on that work order and clock out, and we take a little bit of that salary and apply it to that job. That's time tracking. We have performance-based comp. We pay people for this. We pay them for that. We never pay them for the other thing. We dock them for this, and we give them extra for the other thing. Performance-based compensation, commission, spiffs built in. That way, when you go to process payroll, it's a click of a button or two or three, but there's no spreadsheets. I mean, that's not all in one. There's no spreadsheets trying to figure out the commissions on everybody. It's all built in. That's the foundation of all other features. No other feature matters without that. So you might want to track fixed assets. You want to track your company's fixed assets, all of your vehicles, for example, your forklift, things like that. And what do you want to track? Well, you have a fleet of vehicles. You want to track how much you paid for them, how much interest, how much depreciation, how much did it cost to maintain the vehicle, how much did it cost to fill the vehicle full of parts, how much does it cost to put gas in the vehicle, how many miles do you drive for that vehicle by department, by technician. If you want to know all that, you know where that information comes from? You know where it comes from, Colin? The accounting system.
Yeah, it comes from the software.
Yeah, you enter bills. You enter bills and you pick the truck. You buy gas, you pick the truck. It all comes from accounting. If you have to interface with a bunch of stuff, you're not going to get meaningful information. So to me, it has to have accounting, payroll, inventory management, period.
And if a guy doesn't have that information, then he may be driving his company, I don't want to say recklessly, but kind of blindly, and could be recklessly, or could put you out of business by not knowing correct data.
Look, I have unfortunately declared a lot of companies dead. You know, I've said to companies, you're dead. I mean, you're really about to go out of business. You should go out of business. You should be bankrupt, file for bankruptcy. I've had to say that to a few companies, well, more than a few. I can tell you, none of them said, yeah, I knew it. I saw it coming years ago. I mean, they're shocked. They're surprised. They can't believe it because they didn't have good financial controls in place. They weren't using good software. They weren't using it properly. Sometimes they had good software and weren't even using it properly. They weren't getting reports on their desk in a timely manner. They didn't understand the reports. So yeah, a few people see it coming. It's important to have good bookkeeping and accounting just so you, if nothing else, you, the owner, the manager, can get a report that tells you how you're doing, where you're at. Are you running out of money? What's your cash flow like?
And then what kind of questions should they ask on the inventory control?
Well, it's important to have the ability to know what's inside every single truck and what should be inside every single truck. So you need to be able to create a truck stocking list by department, by technician, and you should, at any given moment, know what's in it and what should be in it, and with a few button clicks, get what you need to refill that truck. So inventory stocking per vehicle and replenishment is vital to making money in the field service industry. If you're going to run service calls, do maintenance, do installations, you need to establish what's supposed to be on that vehicle, know what's in it right now, and be able to quickly reorder and replenish that vehicle. At a minimum, that's what you want in inventory control features.
And if a guy's out, he could see who else has it in the field, who's closest to him on a call, and go get it, right?
Right on. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to be able to pick up your app and you go to put in a PO, but you realize Colin's got it on his vehicle and he's not too far from you because you have GPS tracking, and you say, Colin, can you drop it by? Or Colin, can I come get it? Or the parts manager says, hey, that's on another vehicle. Let me vector him over to you and we'll get that part to you. So that's inventory management, and specialized software is needed for that. Now, remember, to be fair to your software company, you may already have that. You may be thinking, God, we'd love to have that. You may already have all that and don't know it. So it's really important to get with your software vendor and share this concern of yours with them before you file for divorce, right? Divorce is your last option, in my opinion. All right, so moving on, let's talk about price guarantees. You have decided that you have found the right software for you. It's time to start negotiating on pricing, and this is what I want you to think about. Right now, it's almost impossible to find software that you actually buy and own. I mean, you remember the days where you bought a box of software and it came in the mail and you opened up a box and you pulled out the floppy disks, and then they eventually had CDs and then DVDs. Those days are gone. I mean, when it comes to enterprise level software, it's all on the internet and you're paying a monthly fee per user. Okay, so we call that the SaaS model, software as a service. Hard to avoid it. I think pretty soon you're going to be buying houses on the SaaS model. corporations are going to own houses, cars, and everything else. You're going to own nothing. Everything's going to be on a SaaS model. I think that's where we're going, and there's nothing you can do about it, even if you wanted to. So you're stuck there. Now, maybe that's fine with you. You're okay with that. I would suggest you do one thing. At least say to them, I understand how much you cost today, but how much will you cost tomorrow and every year thereafter? Can you give me some kind of ceiling, some price control guarantee? So, in other words, will I pay twice as much next year, 50% more next year, 25% more? Is it totally up to you? Can you charge me whatever you want? And if their answer is, oh, don't worry about that, we wouldn't do that. We have customers to worry about. We're not going to raise our prices to an outrageous degree because we're in business to make money like you. You have nothing to worry about. Well, okay, put that in writing. Give me some kind of price control, some ceiling, because eventually they're going to have you. When everything of yours is on the internet, all of your photographs and all of your notes and all of your paperwork, it's not in a file cabinet anymore. It's on the internet. It's in their database that you can't get to. You can't touch that database. You don't get a backup of it in your hand every day, right? It's not on your server. Eventually, they have all your stuff, and you're so ingrained and embedded into their ecosystem, you can't leave. It's like the mafia. You're in there, you're never getting out. If you get out, you probably won't get out alive. All right, I'm being melodramatic, right? But I want you to picture that. All of your stuff, potentially millions of transactions are on their servers. It isn't easy to leave, is it? Well, if they guarantee you no more than 5% a year or 3% or 8% a year, well, then maybe that's acceptable. But don't hook up with a company that can charge you anything they want anytime they feel like it. And speaking of that, avoid contracts. You should be able to cancel anytime. There's so many companies out there that advertise one price that no one ever pays. They put you into a contract, 2 year, 3 years, something like that. Watch out for their legal terms. Many of them have contracts that say you can't sue us, you agree never to sue us, no class action lawsuits, you won't ever join one, blah, blah, blah. Most people sign those without even thinking about it. So look for price controls, avoid weird contracts that do nothing but protect that company, because there are plenty of those out there. Don't get excited about software that looks too easy to use. The only way to make software easier to use than what I've already described, no double entry, no mathematical errors, the only way to get easier is to just eliminate features and capability. Eliminate preferences and options and settings, and remove fields that you don't have to put data into. Now, you might say, that's what I'm looking for. I want a software program that doesn't have all these check boxes and all these text fields that waste my time. That may be right. That may be for you. But remember one thing. You cannot report on information that you do not enter into the software. If you do not enter it, if your company doesn't enter the info, then you can't generate a report on it. Nothing magic about software. Somebody's fingers have to enter it. They should only have to enter it once, but somebody's fingers have to enter info, like this is a callback on Colin, a callback on James. They have to enter that info or you will not have a report on it. So don't get too excited when a salesperson shows you how simple their software is to use, because that comes with a price.
Yeah, there's no easy button.
No, there is no easy button. You can't build reports on information that you don't have. You only have to enter data, by the way, on the data that you want to pay attention to. So there is no substitute for that. You can't magically make your software easy to use. And that's what I want to leave you with, is there is no easy button to software. There's no substitute for having good bookkeeping and accounting person in your company or people in your company. If you're the owner, I don't care if it's me advising you. I don't care if you understand bookkeeping and accounting. The only thing I want you to understand are financial reports. I want you to fully understand the income statement, the balance sheet, and the statement of cash flows. I want you to be able to read them like you can read a set of gauges or like you can read a multimeter. I want you to understand them at that deep of a level, and you let somebody else get you that information. And to do that, you need good bookkeeping and accounting software. All right, Colin, anything to add?
No, it was a really good information for, I guess, people to really ponder, especially when they thought maybe they kind of knew. You gave a lot of things to think about. Deep stuff to think about. Yes.
Again, if you want to know more about me, I usually don't talk much about my background on this show. You can go to mrhvac.com. Mr. HVAC is sort of my moniker, and you can learn more about me and what I do and read my articles and things like that. I really enjoy doing Field Service Live. I'm glad you came here tonight. Please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, because it tells YouTube that we're not as bad as we look. We're not as bad as we look. It tells YouTube these guys aren't so bad, and it gets it extends our reach. So with that, Colin, I'm going to say goodnight so we can polish off this bottle. Well, we won't polish it off.
Sounds
Thanks for
good.
being here, everybody.